Welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. I also have some self-study courses about manifesting your specific person, and I do have a members-only channel with a lot of perks for members, including weekly live workshops with a different manifesting topic each week, weekly live group coaching, a lot of exclusive content, monthly challenges for a chance to win a free one-on-one coaching session with me, and a lot more. So if you're interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website or to the membership channel. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I'm bringing to you a personal success story, a success story that I shared in my community page on this channel a few weeks ago, and many of you requested that I make a video about it, so here it is this video. And the success story is how I manifested getting my son into a new school that selects students through lottery. And when we say lottery, we mean random lottery. So in a way, we won the lottery for my son's school, and I manifested that. So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So let me give you some background details. I shared some of those details in the post I made 2 or 3 weeks ago when I first shared this manifestation. But let me just say that my husband and I decided that our son needed to change schools. We're not very happy with his current school. We haven't been very happy for a while. So we discussed among ourselves and we decided that the best course of action would be to just seek another school that would be entirely new. Now, because I know a lot of you, when you're manifesting, you're dealing with various circumstances in the 3D, let me also say here that we, on our part, we're also facing a lot of difficult, let's say, circumstances in the 3D, or at least seemingly difficult. And the most difficult of these circumstances are that on the one part, we were looking to switch our son to another school during the middle of elementary school. So it wasn't a very obvious point where a kid would switch schools, which meant that the new school was not necessarily going to have a lot of open spots because, like I just said, not very many families are going to switch their kids in the middle of elementary. So that was one complication, quote unquote, that we were facing. The other complication being that this particular school, like most schools, gives priority to the siblings of existing students. And so because our son didn't have any siblings at that school, he doesn't have any siblings at all. For those of you who know, I only have one child. Of course, that meant that he wasn't going to benefit from that priority. So we're talking about a very limited number of seats because of the grade in which we were looking to switch. And on top of that, he wasn't going to benefit from any sibling priority or other priority. So that was potentially cutting down the number of available seats for us even more. The other big challenge, of course, that we were facing in the 3D, which I already mentioned in passing in my intro, was that this school selects students via random lottery. For those of you who are familiar with the US education system, there are some schools called charter schools, and this was the type of school that we were trying to get him into. And charter schools, because they're also publicly funded, they're not allowed to select students based on ability, based on an exam, based on this or that. They have to select them randomly. And what is the best way to do that? They do a lottery. They figure out how many seats they have available each year for each grade, and then they do a lottery among the kids that have applied. After they have applied the priority that I already talked about, which we didn't have, they put the remaining seats into a lottery, into a completely random lottery. What that meant for us in practical terms was that we were competing with a bunch of other families that had put their name in their hat for that school and for that grade for a very, very, very limited number of seats. So to cut the long story short, on the day of the lottery, which was a couple of weeks ago, we got an email saying, congratulations, you're in, you have a seat. Do you want to accept it or do you want to decline it? Of course, we accepted it. And of course, as I said, this was something that I had manifested for us as a family and for my son very, very deliberately. So even though it was a random lottery, so purely subject to luck, as a conscious manifestor, I knew that I had a say in it. And I knew that I could manifest getting a seat straight out of the lottery. Now, let me also say here that my manifestation was actually for my son to get a seat at that school, which was our favorite one of the bunch to which we applied. By the way, the others haven't had their lotteries yet. And so I wasn't necessarily gung-ho on him getting a seat straight out of the lottery, although that would have alleviated a lot of stress, of course. But even if we had gone through the waiting list first, I had maintained and I had been manifesting that we are eventually getting a seat at that school for the grade that we need at some point before the start of the new school year. So in other words, I was kind of detached from the outcome of how exactly it was going to happen. Of course, my biggest preference was that we would be offered a seat straight out of the lottery. But even if we had ended up on the waiting list, that was still okay for me as long as we got a seat by the beginning of the school year. So I was detached, I didn't have resistance to the outcome. I wasn't trying to determine how exactly the manifestation would come in, as long as it did come in. And so that took a lot of the resistance away. And of course, as it often happens in such situations, when you take all the resistance away, you usually get your plan A. You usually get your best preference, which is what ended up happening here, where we got offered a seat straight out of the lottery. Now, the other thing I did in terms of methods and techniques, if you will, I remember Neville Goddard's story where he was looking to travel from Barbados back to New York. There were no available seats on the boat for the dates that he wanted, so he put himself on the waiting list, but he also manifested being offered seats on that boat for the dates during which he preferred to travel. So by remembering that story, I decided to go all in. I decided to go all Neville and do pretty much the same thing. And so what I did was actually pretty simple. I kept imagining my son wearing the sweatshirt of that school, in the colors of the school, with the logo of the school, exactly the way I had seen it in pictures on the school's website, but also in person when we toured that school. So I kept imagining my son wearing that exact sweatshirt that I had seen on other kids who were students of that school. The exact sweatshirt, exact colors, exact logo, and so on. That was my visual, you guys. That was my visualization. Beyond that was just my intention, a very, very strong intention, a very strong decision that no matter what, we are getting a seat at that school before the new school year begins. And when my husband and I actually went and took a tour of that school, that somehow solidified that intention within me that yes, this is where our son belongs. Yes, this is where our son is going to go to school from next year onwards. Yes, he's going to be offered a seat here. He's going to be here no matter what. I made that decision. I set that intention very firmly within myself and I didn't budge. So I felt it, you guys, with a lot of certainty. I didn't waver from it and I kept imagining my kid wearing part of the school uniform. And I did that several times over some time, over a period of a few weeks. Every time this would come to my mind. So as you can see, a combination of a strong, unwavering intention with a visual that is very simple and very quick, but actually implies the realization of your desire, in addition to removing the resistance around how it's going to happen, how it's going to unfold, how I want the exact outcome, and so on, brought the exact desired result in a very, very natural way, a very easy way, in a way that essentially landed our desire in our lap. So this was the reason why I wanted to share this success story with you guys, to tell you and to show you that it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated techniques, because I know a lot of you ask a lot about techniques. What do I need to do? What do I need to imagine? What do I need to affirm? Your strong intention with something simple, a simple affirmation, simple visualization, simple inner conversation, simple something that implies the realization of your desire, in addition to trusting and losing the resistance around it, is sure to bring you success. So I intend that the story that I shared today motivates you and inspires you. and helps you realize that conscious manifesting is nothing complicated. It all has to do with intention, trust, and setting a clear vision and just staying loyal to it. That is all. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.